welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something completely different. We're going to unpack a deeply unsettling local legend, and we'll treat this short, chilling source text exactly like an active forensic case file. This isn't just some spooky campfire tale, It's a sequence of events, the literal anatomy of a disappearance. So grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's examine the evidence together. Okay, let's dive into this with part 1, the Santa Aurora curfew. So to really grasp the gravity of what happened here, we first need to look at the town itself, Santa Aurora. Now, on the surface, it sounds like your perfectly mundane, peaceful little community. But when we dig into the source text, we instantly hit this very dark, unspoken rule hanging over the town. 1800 hours, 6 o'clock in the evening. The text tells us that absolutely no one in Santa Aurora dared to travel down the old dirt road after 6 p.m. I mean, just think about that for a second. An entire community totally paralyzed by this ironclad curfew. As soon as the sun dips and those shadows start getting long, that old dirt road is completely abandoned. It's this collective, silent terror keeping everybody away. Well, almost everybody. Which brings us to part 2. Lucas crosses the line. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds. Why is it that human nature always draws us to the exact places we're told absolutely not to go? A line gets drawn and inevitably, somebody's going to step right over it. That somebody was Lucas. He decided to just totally ignore the generations of fear surrounding this dirt road, and he crossed that invisible line. This timeline maps out his fatal, tragic progression toward the abandoned house at the end of the road. Point 1, Lucas crosses the forbidden dirt track in the evening. Point 2, he enters the abandoned structure under the cover of night. Point 3, deep into the late night, he makes a series of terrifying discoveries. And then, point 4, the climax. He's chased out and vanishes completely into the midnight darkness.
Let's break down exactly what he found in part 3, 3 horrifying discoveries.
We really need to pause here and treat this like an inventory of forensic evidence. The source explicitly lists 3 things Lucas discovered hidden away in the dark. First, photographs of missing persons, literally the faces of those who probably walked this exact same path before him. Second, a bottomless well, a massive physical void just sitting right there inside the property. And third, a creature that imitates voices. Just let the absolute horror of that escalation sink in for a moment. We go from chilling artifacts to a deadly geographical anomaly, straight up to a supernatural predatory threat. Now, what's really interesting about this is the profound psychological terror of this specific detail, a creature that imitated voices. I really want you to pause and let that deeply unsettling sensory detail truly sink in. It's not just some mindless monster. It's a predator that uses familiarity to hunt. It mimics human sounds, maybe a cry for help or maybe a familiar greeting from a friend. It literally weaponizes trust in the pitch black of an abandoned house. So the crucial point is what happens next in part 4, the terrifying pursuit.
Lucas didn't just quietly check these things out and leave. No, his very presence triggered a reaction. In a sudden, absolute rush of panic, he realizes he is no longer alone. The trap is sprung, and the hunter has found its prey. The text describes the next moments simply as a terrifying pursuit. I mean, just imagine that chaotic, frantic scramble through the dark, rotting hallways, the sound of his own heavy breathing, maybe mocked and echoed right back at him by the creature giving chase. Step 1, a terrifying pursuit begins through the dark. And then, step 2, the abrupt, complete end. Lucas disappears completely. No body, no closure. He just ceases to be.
Which leaves us with part 5, the chilling aftermath. And this brilliantly illustrates the tragic reality of what happened. The frantic, chaotic energy of that night completely vanished with him, leaving only the cold, quiet light of day. When we examine the physical evidence left behind days after the incident, the tragedy is just profoundly somber. On one hand, we have Lucas, a curious, living, breathing person who defiantly walked into that house. And on the other hand, only his backpack, a solitary, empty piece of canvas recovered days later. It's a haunting contrast that proves he was definitely there, but confirms that whatever makes up the boy is completely gone, swallowed whole by the house. But here's the thing. The source text doesn't just leave this as some historical tragedy. It presents an ongoing, active threat. The legend dictates that the house isn't just an empty building sitting at the end of a dirt road. It actually states that the house still appears on rainy nights to choose new residents. It literally materializes when the weather turns, when the sky darkens, actively hunting for the next person bold enough or maybe foolish enough to wander out in the storm. Which brings our explainer to a close and leaves us with one final, undeniable question. The curfew remains. That dirt road is absolutely still there. And the rain will inevitably fall again on Santa Aurora. So, when the house appears in the next downpour, who will it choose next? Think about that the next time you find yourself drawn to a place you know you shouldn't be. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember to always stay curious.